this. Okay, so we talk about the return. So the return is going to be is called expected return. So what is expected return? Expected return is the mean of the probability distribution of possible returns. Okay, so you can see, look at this. So when you calculate expected return, it's going to be the possible value of return during that particular period and times the probability of that value occurring during that period. And then you sum them up. Okay, so the concept is pretty similar to the mean. Okay, and the mean is what is the mean of the probability, the mean, right? So when you take a statistics class, okay, the mean is a measure to for expected return. So how you do that? Okay, expected return when you calculate. So basically, this is what we do is that you have the probability and the return, right? You have probability. The return occurring as that probability, you just times the probability and the return, and you create another column. So they times together, and then you sum up, right? Sum them up. So how are you gonna do that? Okay, so we can open that Excel file. Okay, let's say you open an Excel file. If you have a computer, you can follow me and open the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so you can see this is the probability we use in this question. Make sure you see that the probability, when you add it up, all the probability, that's supposed to be 1, right? You call the sum function, you sum them up. Okay, the probability supposed to be 1 or 100%. Okay, keep that in mind. If you add them up, it's not equal to 100%. Something wrong with the numbers, so you need to go back to check that. Okay, the return under that situation or that scenario is going to be, we talk about economic downturn. Okay, if an economic downturn, they have a 10% probability gonna occur. The return you get, it will be -5%. Okay, so if the probability is no growth, okay, 0 growth, 5% return. Moderate growth, 10%. High growth is 20%. Okay, so so you can do is that you calculate expected return is just using the probability times your return. So that's how you calculate your expected return. So expected return is going to be your probability times your return, right? So you just click on the cell and then you add them up. Okay, there's the product of the probability and return. So you apply that formula when your cursor become a cross, and you drag all the way down. Okay, so the return will be the probability times the return, and then you sum them up. Okay, you use a sum function. In Excel, you use a sum function. And click on enter. Okay, you see that is 10.5%, right? Or you can, you go Excel, you click on percent. Okay, it's changed to percentages still. This is, okay, go back. Okay, yeah, you add more decimals. You add more decimals, right? Okay, good. So that's 10.5%. What is this? This is your expected return. Okay, remember this is your expected return you calculate. Okay, now we go back to check the risk and return because you already calculated expected return. So using this formula. So what is the risk? Okay, the risk, how you calculate the risk? Okay, so we're gonna apply this function is to, the risk is measured by standard deviation. Okay, standard deviation measures the dispersion of return. It's the square root of the variance. The square root of the variance. Okay, you see this delta is a measure of a standard deviation. And this is how you calculate the variance. The variance is the return minus the mean we just calculate. And you square that, okay, and you square that, and then you times the probability, and you sum them up, you take the square root. Okay, so it's kind of, you know, we talk about that, it's kind of complex. Okay, I will do that when you see how you can handle this using Excel. So let me just paste this function right here so you know which part of it. Okay, so this is the one is called meal equal to that. Okay, so meal, so that's the one you calculate, or standard deviation. Okay, and now we do this part. Okay, this part. Okay, the value minus the mean. Okay, so what is this one called? They call deviation. Okay, this one called deviation. So the deviation is equal to the return minus the meal. Okay, this is the meal you just calculate. Okay, remember the meal is not going to change. So if you have F4 on your keyboard, you just type F4. Okay, if you don't have it, you have to manually type in the $sign to fix this value, because when you apply that formula, when you drag down, remember, this is gonna change, right? Okay, how do you access the Excel file? You need to install Excel in your computer. So it's a package of the Office 365. So I think HBU had free installation for all the students and the faculty. when you log into your student portal and you look at the software, you can install Office 365 on your own computer for free. Yeah, that's the great benefit. So the file I'm working on is Excel. Yeah, Excel, you need to see. Okay, so when you working on that. Okay, so that's you click on enter. So you can see this part. Okay, the one you calculate right now is negative 15.5 is this one. Okay, so we can do all this is V minus mu, right? Or you can say this is what you need to do. First step, we call this one is called deviation. Okay, so you apply that formula and you drag all the way down. So automatically calculate everything. Okay, so now you see what we need is the deviation squared. Okay, is a deviation squared. So you calculate that deviation. Now you need to square this. Okay, okay, the deviation you square. Okay, you squared. Okay, you click on enter. So that's gonna be the deviation you square. Okay, you square the deviation all the way down. Okay, you drag. Okay, so you get everything. And okay, so now we already have this part. What you need to do is that this deviation squared times the probability. So this is the probability. Okay, so in that formula, this is P is the probability. The return is the capital letter V, the value, okay, in that formula. Okay, now it's going to be the probability times the value minus the mean squared. Okay, we calculate this part. Okay, now this part. Okay, how you do that? Okay, you already have the squared deviation. And then what you need to do is just the probability times the squared deviation. Okay, so the probability times the squared deviation. And then you click on enter to apply that formula all the way down. Okay. Look at this. Now you have to sum them up. Okay, you sum all those values you calculate, sum them up. So using the sum function, okay, sum them up. Okay, you click on enter. Okay, this one, okay, this is called variance. Okay, this is called variance. So the variance, okay, we using a different color, so we fill them up. So the variance is not complete. So so far the variance is this part, okay? Okay, this part is your variance. And what you need to do is a standard deviation. The standard deviation is the square root of the variance. Okay, now we have the standard deviation. Standard deviation, okay, is the square root of the variance. Okay, how you do square root in Excel is the function is called SQRT, square root of the variance. Okay, that's your standard deviation. Okay, so the standard deviation, okay, this is okay, this is the measure of the risk. Okay, the risk is okay is 0.7, right? 0.0756, and the expected return is 10.5. So now we go back to the PowerPoint, so that you see how we get the standard deviation. Okay, 7.566. Okay, so if you change this one to like a 2%, right? 2% and include some decimals, right? Exactly the same how we get. So that's some of the students, they have a question about how we calculate the risk and expected return. Okay, so what we talk about is that typically when the risk is higher, the expected return is higher. When the risk is lower, the expected return is lower, right? If you have two stocks, okay, you have your two stocks. So which stock you want to choose in your investment portfolio? Okay, the first one, okay, you wanted to talk about if the two stocks have the same level of expected return, you choose the one with lower standard deviation. Okay, same level of return, you choose the stock with lower risk. If you have two stocks with the same level of risk or standard deviation, okay, you choose the one with a higher expected return. Do you understand what I'm talking? That's good? Okay, any questions? Okay. What about these two stocks? There are return and standard deviation are different. Okay, there one we need is called coefficient variation. Okay, the one we called is coefficient of variation. Okay, so we have a coefficient of variation. So the coefficient of variation is the standard deviation divided by the return, okay, expected return. So this is the coefficient of variation. So we format this into like a number or just 2 decimals. Okay, so this stock, okay, the coefficient of variation is 0.72. So the coefficient is the lower, the better.
How do we get the coefficient variation again?
It's going to be the standard deviation divided by the mean. Okay, you say that's a G7 divided by D6. Okay, this is the formula you can see here. Is the standard deviation divided by the mean. Okay. This is the final conclusion is or the implication is when you have two stocks, for example, you have ExxonMobil, you have Apple, you have Walmart. So which stock you supposed to invest? Okay, so what you need to do is that you just calculate the coefficient of variation for each stock. Okay, once you calculate the coefficient of variation to see which stock has the lowest coefficient of variation, you choose the one with lower coefficient of variation. Okay, that's your strategy. So the coefficient variation is the lower, the better. Okay, this is the question is we talk about when you invest only one stock. Okay, your investment is limited to only one stock. Okay, next class we're gonna talk about if you have more money. For example, you are a millionaire, so you have a lot of money. You wanted to invest 2 or more stock. Okay, what is the strategy? Okay. Today, we only focus on only one stock. Okay, that's all for today. And so we're gonna talk about the rest next time about a portfolio. So the question is about if you have more than one stock in your investment. So how you're gonna make a decision and what is your strategy. And also we talk about the capital asset pricing model. Okay, I'm gonna save this file and as an attachment and to the course lecture notes. So you will see